Okay, so I've mentioned to you guys several times that we're going to be working through the writing process in this class. So you're probably familiar with it, but you might have a few questions about it, or it might be a little vague in your memory. So I just wanted to refresh your memory on what all it entails. So let's take a look at this. All right, so the writing process. This is also available for you on Blackboard, but I wanted to do this video to just talk through it with you also. This is a PDF that file that is on Blackboard, so if you want to like download it and maybe print it off and put it on your wall or something like that, just to kind of remind yourself or save it. But it is the process that we are going to go through with every single paper that we write in this class. So now on your smaller things that you do, like your journal or your discussion, you don't have to do this. This is only for your major projects, or if I instruct you to do, a part of it. So let's go through it. The first step is the pre-writing. That is where you are brainstorming what you're going to write about. That's when you're doing your research and gathering the information that you need. And you start outlining your ideas and all of that and figuring out what is going to go where. The research part, that could be, now for this narrative project, it's going to be far different because you're drawing on your own experiences, but that will still be writing the things down and trying to figure out in your head, all right, what things do I need to include in this? Now, if we're doing a research paper, that will be totally different, where you are having to go and pull all these sources and take notes and all of that. So some people try to do the research as they write, and oh my gosh, that is a pain in the butt. So I don't recommend it. It is very easy to get overwhelmed, and literally it will take you a lot longer. It will make it a lot more difficult if you do it like that. So it's kind of like if you're going to make something in the kitchen, like cookies or something. So I don't know if you have ever made cookies, but if you have, then or make anything, you want to gather all your stuff first, right? To make sure you have your eggs and your sugar and all that kind of stuff. So you want to gather those things and make sure you have them all before you start cooking, because you may be like me, and I've done this before, where it's like you start cooking and then you're like, we don't have any butter. And so then you have to stop what you're doing. And then I have to run to the store. I send my husband to the store to go get butter or whatever it is that was left out. And then, so it took a lot longer and a lot of extra work, as opposed to me just making sure, oh, here, I have everything together now. And then if I do it like that, then I might forget something else to put in there. And it's just kind of a pain in the butt. So the same thing with your writing. Have all the things gathered. Now, as you write, you might think, ooh, I need to add in whatever other detail. Ooh, let me look up this one other thing I think it would be good to add. Then that is totally fine, and that is normal. But on the front end is where you need to be doing the majority of your research. The outlining part, that is something that you have a reading on for this week. An outline is, I think of it as like a blueprint for a house. If in your home, I am sure you would be happy to know that the builder used a blueprint and figured out, okay, this is the foundation that will be sturdy enough for the house. All right, these are the tools, and these are the whatever measurements of wood beams and all that kind of stuff, to figure out, and like there's a safe way to build the house and all of that, versus let's just wing it and let's just go to Lowe's or whatever and get some wood and nails and a hammer, and we'll just hope for the best. So that probably wouldn't be very stable. You want a plan to make sure everything goes together well. The same exact thing with your writing. So your outline, and you have reading with, and part of that has like several different options for outlines. That is the same premise. Your outline is just you going through, and it's kind of like your blueprint, and you're just trying to figure out, okay, this is my introduction. What kind of info do I want to put in there? And I've had some students like write, full sentences, and it ends up being like 2 or 3 pages long for the full outline. That is totally fine if that is what you want to do. Some people just jot down little notes. That is fine too. It's just when I look at it, I want to know that I can tell exactly what information you're wanting to put in there. So, but you can be as detailed or a little bit more vague. Now, don't put detail number 1 and, think it's fine because, okay, detail number 1, that's super general. What does that even mean? So it has to be it has to be somewhat specific so I can see exactly what is going to go where. So also, once you have everything figured out, okay, I'm going to talk about this one thing in this body paragraph and this in another body paragraph, blah, blah, blah. Once you get that figured out, it makes your writing process so much easier. Because if you're like me, you're like, let me talk about this now. And then my mind jumps to something else and I just go here, there, everywhere. And I kind of end up talking and writing in circles. So if you just follow, you've already figured out what you're going to talk about to begin with. So when you actually start writing, you look over and you're like, oh, that's what I was going to write about next. So it really helps keep you on track. It helps your writing flow better. Because also you don't want to get into your writing and then figure out, oh, no, I need to move this here, there, everywhere. You might do that some, but it's easier if you figure out when you're looking at your outline, oh, no, let me put this section here and then move this detail down there. So it really helps you get that framework. All right, next is your drafting. That is just your rough draft. It says create your initial composition, so your initial writing down all your ideas in an organized way to convey a particular idea or present an argument. So whatever it is you're writing about, this is where you do your rough draft. You do turn your rough draft into me. Primarily with your rough draft, I look for completeness. And I also look for some high level things like, okay, is your, formatting correct? The completeness, so like the length, if it's supposed to be 3 pages, is it 3 pages or did you turn in 1 page to me and just say it's really rough? So that's what I look at. I don't care about any like misspellings or whatever. Also, if you have a works cited page or sources, bibliography, whatever, I expect that to be in there too. That is not required for this first paper, but all the others, I expect it to be there. So basically, like I said, completeness. I don't look at anything else. I don't worry about, the rough draft is supposed to have misspellings and grammar issues and all of that. And those are things we'll work through in the next step. But that is not something I even look at. So the next thing is revising. So a lot of people get revising, which is step number 3, and number 4. They think they are the same thing, and they are not at all. They are actually very different. So the revising, that is where you go through, review, modify, and reorganize your work by rearranging, adding, or deleting content and making the tone, style, and content appropriate for the intended audience. So basically, you're just looking at your wording and the flow, and it's like, ooh, did I repeat this one word many times? And maybe I need to, use the handy dandy thesaurus and figure out what is another word I could use so I'm not repeating this one over and over. Or, ooh, the sentence kind of doesn't make sense. How can I reword it? So that's really what you're looking at with revision. After you revise, then you go through and edit. Edit is where you are proofreading and correcting grammar errors, any mechanics, and improving like your style or anything like that. So now in our class, we do edits and revisions. Like we do it, like you do one, then you do the other. I don't grade your revisions and then grade your edits. It's just, we lump them together. But when you are going through and doing them, you're doing your self revisions and self edits, or when you are doing your peer revisions and peer edits, I expect you to be doing both. Then the publishing, that's turning in your final draft. So that's the last step. That's where you are turning in your final writing. That is after everything has been cleaned up as much as you can. And then that's when I go through and then I finally grade it and look for the grammar issues, the style, all of that kind of stuff. So this is something, like I said, is the process we are going to go through with every single project that we do, every single major project. It can be seen as a pain in the butt, even to me sometimes. Like I was writing essays to apply for graduate schools, and I was just like, oh, I don't want to write these things. And I'm the writing teacher. And I was just like, okay, sit down and make an outline. So I was telling myself. And I was just like, I just want to write it and get it over with. So, which I found amusing because, I was on the other side of what, I teach. So I was just like, no, you have to do exactly how you teach it. And it did help me. I made my outline to keep me on track as I was writing. But once you get used to that, you will get faster at it. Outlining, figuring out where stuff needs to go. But it also, it definitely helps with the fluidity and flow of your writing.